Yeah. He's Scott.
And he's Ken.
And welcome to Liberty Marksman.
We're back in the war room today to do our extreme testing on AR-15mold.com poured receivers.
We are going to start out with a chemical test, where you're going to try some basic household chemicals that you might find in your garage for cleaning your firearms.
And they're pretty much going to simulate long-term abuse or neglect, and they're taking it to the extreme.
Yep.
That's the idea.
Because we have a short period of time to do this, and these are heavily concentrated. So if there's any flaws, we're going to find it out faster than maybe if it's just exposed to it over a longer period of time.
So we're going to be starting out, we're going to be using lacquer thinner, mineral spirits, hoppies, which we have a little bit, muriatic acid, and acetone.
We're also going to do it in an ultrasonic cleaner using a little bit of Dawn and Lemmy Shine. And for you hipsters out there, we're going to try one in PBR. Just kidding, hipsters aren't into gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so
let's pour these cups.
Let's do this. Yep, that smells like acid.
That's bad. Yeah, it smells like ass.
Sid.
Yeah. Wow.
We're here all night, folks.
Maybe a respirator would have been a good idea on this one.
Maybe not a closed room either.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do it in the shop.
Whew, let me get these out of here.
Hoppies?
Whew. Now I'm not totally submersing these because we want to see a break line of where the product was sitting in.
Holy crap, you did that without spilling.
And where it's not affected. That'll give us a nice clean line. See if it's actually doing anything.
And the stinkiest liqueur there is out there.
It is like there.
It's not quite automotive grade lacquer. What reeks worse, that lacquer thinner or the muriatic acid?
Muriatic acid's terrible. In all fairness, what we're going to do is we're going to soak these all basically at the same time. And we're going to start and use the timer, and this is a heated ultrasonic, by the way. And we're going to let the ultrasonic be our timer for our test, and we're going to run it for 5 minutes, and then we're going to reset it for another 5, give it a 10-minute duration.
As you can see here, we're actually getting smoke off both the muriatic acid and the hoppies, believe it or not.
Just because they're sitting next to each other, it's actually the vapors coming off that are interacting.
And we're done. Oh, no more with these amateur proctology exams again.
Yeah. Alright, so our time is up. Let's take a look at what we got. Coming out of the ultrasonic. So take the rag. Do a quick wipe down.
Do you have deflection in the magazine, Will?
No more than what it originally had. We'll just lay that out. Let's see, there's really no change.
No real discoloration with the lacquer.
Lacquer. I see no discoloration, no softening, no nothing. Mineral spirits. Just have that little bit of oily residue as you always would, but again, no discoloration.
Did it soften at all on that one?
No, you can't put your nail in it. Hoppies. Hoppies actually has a little bit of oil in it, so that one's going to have to be wiped off a little bit more. but no discoloration, no nothing. I'm still getting that smoke between these two, so I'm moving that the hell out of the way.
And we're going to neutralize the muriatic acid by dipping it in some water, because we don't want to burn a hole in our bench or the rag. We like to rinse with Folgers. Alright,
Yeah.
so any discoloration with that one?
No discoloration, no softening, no
No burn marks?
lifting of the material, no nothing. So far, with the exception of this muriatic acid trying to kill me,
Oh, that ain't the only thing killing
we're
it.
left with the acetone. Now the acetone, right off the bat, you can definitely see a clear line coming across where it's affected. And
Yep,
it's
definitely
soft.
lighter there. Oh yeah,
It'll
look at that.
definitely eat it up, nail go right through it. Takes
Yep,
the
you
edges
got-
right off.
Total line.
So,
Word of warning. Do not use acetone on your polymer lower.
nope.
Or resin poured lower.
Everything else, pretty much okay.
Yeah, and for the most part, if it'll hold up to
Most of these cleaning solutions, they're going to hold up with most of your gun cleaning solutions also. Most of everything that's out there to clean your gun with is going to be comprised of one of these objects, with the exception of the muriatic acid. Again, that stuff's terrible. Holy cow, there's smoke. But it's usually an oil derivative that is part of the cleaning process.
and if it'll hold up to that, oils, they'll be just fine with oils too.
The same with the lubricating process also. Anything that you're going to lube your gun with is really not going to affect this resin in any way, shape, or form.
So what do you say next? We do a little load test on the...
I think it's time to load test the buffer tube.
Yep. So we took our AR, we dropped the mag out, obviously, and we mounted it to a piece of 12-inch C channel. We bound it here so it's relatively rigid. Actually, it's really rigid. We put a dial indicator on here so we can measure the deflection in the buffer tube as we add weight. So we got 50 pounds of sand. We're going to keep going until we break the damn thing, because it's the only way we're going to know. We'll measure how much sand is in the bucket after we have snapped it off, and
You'll have a total weight,
Yep.
so you know how much force you can actually put on it, because it's a little mushy for my liking right now.
Yeah, me too.
The one note that
We do know that they're working on a stiffening. They've got some fiberglass and
Some mods.
some other mods coming out to help stiffen it up.
as soon as we get those, we will adapt that into a new pour and test those also. But for right now,
Right now,
this is
it's
just
a
a
stock form.
virgin pour that did not go through chemical testing. This is one of the ones that is a
Yep.
straight up pour. We do note that for your retainer for your buffer tube, you pretty much have to go with the mil spec, unless you're going to take away material,
Yep,
which
that-
would actually weaken it even further.
That's a Magpul one, and with their little, the pieces that come up the side of the receiver, they do not clear on here, so you'd have to trim that. I don't know if you want to take any material out of that section of the receiver anyway.
No.
So
So let's
load test this
throw
thing.
some weight on this.
Alright, so we took a standard stock. This weighs 0.4 pounds. Our bucket weighs 2.2 pounds, 5-gallon bucket. And our dial indicator is set at 0. And you can see just pushing on it, you get a little bit of deflection there. So you're going to see as I install this, that just the weight of the stock and the bucket have moved it about, what is it? I can't see it. What is it, 7 thousandths?
15.
15.
And those are, it's measuring in 1/1000th of an inch for every line, so that's 15 thousandths, just a little over. So just with the bucket and stock on it, you've already got a deflection of 15 thousandths. So let's add some weight to this thing. So we're stealing our sand out of our clearing bucket that we made. And we're going to start pouring.
It's 1 cup in. It's 2 cups in. As you can see, we have gone a full
125 thousandths, 135 thousand. And it's progressively creeping as we're sitting here, and watch it still climb every move. Seem to settle it out a little bit.
Now at this point, you can see we have separation between the upper receiver and the lower receiver. So at this point, you are not going to be able to rack the bolt. Are you getting quite the ab workout?
Yeah. You've got huge deflection.
That gap is just opening up.
Surprisingly, with the amount of flex that's in it, we haven't had a snap or a crack or anything yet. But holds true to its flexibility. I don't know that your buffer tube is where you want flex.
No.
And I'm not even pouring, it's still just climbing. So it's just stressing it all by itself.
Stretching. And that gap's to about probably 5/16.
Oh,
I just heard a crack.
heard a crack.
Can you see a crack?
She's still climbing pretty good on her own.
I can tell you right now that the dial indicator is not going to be like getting dragging over those threads. But you can see the gap has really opened up. And there she goes. She is broke. Alright. As you've seen there, it snapped off. Let's see what the damage looks like here. That would have totally blown out the...
The biggest problem with that is your bolt is right there.
Yep.
So a buffer tube failure could be really dangerous.
Yep. And you can see the... snapped right off. You can actually see all these little air pockets here, which you could not see when it was...
On the surface.
Yep, there was nothing on the surface to indicate any air pockets. So let's weigh this bucket and see how much weight it took to snap it. We're gonna
Did you get it?
cut the buffer off here and weigh this
Bucket
thing.
weighs 2.2 pounds.
£56.6. Held
54.4.
held quite a bit more than I think we were both thinking it was going to. The only problem is that the gun was not functional way before it snapped. The gap was just too big between the upper and lower. And then the other thing to think about is there'd be more load against it with the buffer spring in there pushing against the tube. So you already have that
Working against you.
working against you. Alright, I stole this orange one from Scott. And we are going to do some high temp stuff with it. We're going to start at about 175 degrees in our bake oven, which we will confirm with the Raytech when we're done. So, into the bake oven, and we'll come back to that. Let's see what happens when we throw this thing at the floor. A lot of shit happened. We're about 159 degrees. We're going to put a load on it right away. We're going to use a 20-pound weight. Deflection at 160 degrees did not affect that at all. And then we have our other one over here. This is just that straight up ambient, obviously 20 pounds directly over the mag well. If it didn't do it on the heated one, it's definitely not going to move it on the ambient one. Alright, we decided to really crank the heat up on it. And as you can see, it kind of melted in my hand. It changed colors. It's like a puke brown. Retake that for me, would you? 368.75. Put our weight on there.
Oh.
As you can see, it doesn't like the high temperature. Not too many things like that temperature anyway.
However, aluminum doesn't melt until 800 degrees. So here's a little fun fact. This shit's flammable.
Don't get it too close to the bonfire. Although, if you do get stranded in the wilderness, you don't have any firewood or starter, you could probably boil your water with it. Not only is it flammable, it's like way flammable. And probably toxic. There's nice cracklies. It's awesome because it's bleeding fire. Look at it. Bleeding fire! Kind of smells like those snakes you light on the 4th of July. Talk about a meltdown video. Ooh, it sounds badass too. Look, it's doing a curl. Now we're gonna do what all good people do and throw it in the creek. Awesome.
You cannot put it out. It just drips off.
We should put it's like napalm now.
Holy crap. You hear that?
Yeah, it's wild. Alright, so we've had some fun testing it. Yeah, we had a little goofiness, but just to show you They can take some abuse to a point.
They're flexible yet forgiving to a certain point. I mean, you're probably not going to, use fire on your lower receiver at any time soon, and your gun's
Never
probably
gonna see
not
that kind of heat.
going to see 450 degrees. There are possibilities for that to happen. You want to explain?
Well, maybe if you're running and you bounce it off a tree or something, you're going to get the flex there.
Yeah.
But, there's been some drop tests at 20 feet straight on the stock like that. That's never going to do anything.
No, because it's fully supported from the upper to the buffer tube. It's pinched between those two pieces. You're never going to break it off like that.
No.
I mean, you could definitely drop it from 20 feet.
You're either going to break it putting the
You
load
drop
on
this
it,
gun like this, and you're liable to get that flex out of it.
all day long. That or side to side.
Or sideways.
Because it's not supported there very well either. But, it gave before it snapped.
Yeah, and chemically, I think it holds up really well. I mean,
Yep.
acetone is some pretty severe stuff for any kind of plastics. I mean, it eats up just about anything if you leave it there long enough. So seeing what it does to this after 10 minutes, it probably wouldn't be much of it there after 24. It'd be too soft or flexible. But nobody's going to use
It's
acetone.
permanent perfume.
The reason we used the muriatic acid was to mimic a caustic.
Yep.
It's the same caustic that's going to be coming out of any ammunition that you run. Those things are all caustic. So over an extended period of time, that caustic will have an effect on any part of your firearm. That's why you have to clean them. The muriatic acid didn't do anything to it. No. So again, the resin.
But
held up.
your lower parts kit, it would definitely corrode.
Oh, it's going to
that
eat your
and
eat
springs and
everything else if you just poured it on there. If it doesn't kill you first, because the stuff smells like shit. But all in all, so far, I'm actually impressed with its durability and flexibility. I'm a little leery of the flexibility on the buffer tube.
Yep. Like we said, they're working on a support system, so we'll see. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt for right now.
Yeah.
Knowing what you have there, just be careful. So next week, if all goes well, it'll be next week.
Yeah.
we will have our range footage. We're going to be throwing it on the bump fire gun. We're going to do 100, 150 yard shots with it and see, or compare it. We'll slap it on our standard lower.
We'll get an accuracy test out of it.
And then we'll slap
see
it
how
on
holds
here
up.
and see if the sloppiness in it or the sponginess of it is going to affect the accuracy or not.
Right.
Which it could, lighter hammer strikes or whatnot.
Yeah, there could be some inconsistencies just because of its flexibility. Yeah. So we want to eliminate that by doing a side-by-side or take the same upper and put it on a different lower. And that'll give us a tell-all. We'll do it in a Caldwell lead sled so that we can actually zero it in. Then we'll see what we do from gun to gun.
And then we're going to pack the thing with dry ice.
See
Bring
how
it down.
holds.
We're hoping we can get it down to about -40. It'll be pretty close. And see how brittle it gets. I mean,
we did the
I'm
heat.
expecting it to be kind of brittle like that, but we don't know till we try it.
We did the heat. Got to do the cold.
We're going to try running with it and biffing it off the side of a tree and...
We'll see what it can take. But so far, it's held up pretty well.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Hope you found something interesting here.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Take it
Later.
easy.